Hey guys, Frankie here, and let's jump right in. Today we're talking about tiny houses. The reason why we're talking about tiny houses is because when you think about it, all of our largest expense every single month is either our rent or our mortgage. And you can make a lot of arguments back and forth between which is the better way to go. But that really got me thinking, you could really save a lot of money if you just focused on this one monthly expense. Now, moving in with mom probably isn't something you're interested in doing, so what are alternative forms of living out there? Now, just down the street from us, there's lots of houseboats, so that's something that we have talked about. Then we went down a rabbit hole all about tiny houses, mainly because there's some really cool YouTube channels out there dedicated to tiny houses. And what's so cool is it's such a small space and you see a lot of awesome ideas in terms of just interior design, use of space, ingenuity, creativity. Our favorite channel we actually recommend is Living Big in a Tiny House. There are maybe even hundreds of videos on this channel, so I super recommend you check that one out after this one. So after seeing a whole bunch of YouTube videos, I got extra curious. Ended up going to the library and picking up Tiny House, Live Small, Dream Big, and also Tiny House Design and Construction Guide. Shortly after that, we were like, okay, we gotta go see a tiny house. So I poked around on Craigslist and actually found a tiny house that was for sale just up north here in Bellingham. Friday after work, we took a drive up there and acted like interested buyers and checked it out. And this unit was actually pretty incredible. Just to see a tiny house for the first time, step into the space, appreciate all the design and small touches. To meet the builder, this was his first tiny house. He built all on his own. He is a preacher and a teacher and just a really, really cool guy. This tiny house, if you're curious about pricing, was listed for $60,000. This is actually on the lower end from what I've been seeing online. Most tiny houses, especially brand new, already built to spec, is gonna run you anywhere from $50,000 to I'd say $100,000 depending on how large. In terms of width, tiny houses are 8.5. That is the maximum width for what you can drive and pull down a highway. But in terms of length, they're gonna range anywhere from 18 to 28, 32, even up to 40 feet long. Square footage wise, we're talking, 150 kind of on the low end, all the way up to 300, 350 up on the extreme large end. The one we looked at, I think, was right around 180 square feet. And honestly, this felt super comfortable when you're inside. I can understand the appeal, especially when you consider the freedom you get and the affordability of the tiny house, because you're no longer paying rent and just kind of giving away your money, and you're also not trapped in a up to 30-year whatever mortgage. It's cozy, it's comfortable, it's portable, and it's an asset. I didn't stop there. We actually came across a blog, and that is called Tiny House Giant Journey. After exploring the website and eventually videos, I come to find out that she had actually stopped living in this home a couple of years ago, and this house is available on Airbnb to rent. We rented it. Now I wanna say, before I talk more about our rental, that finding tiny houses on Airbnb can be extremely difficult. It's not as easy as just typing in tiny house. So if you stick around to the end of the video, we'll give you some tips on how to find more. She traveled in this one for I think over a year and had the awesome idea to post this permanently on Airbnb and continue to make money back on her original investment. This tiny house, again, we're talking 180 square feet, is going for roughly $175 a night. That's a little bit steep for a staycation just an hour north of here, plus having to go across a ferry, but we went ahead, bit the bullet, and did it. So here's a look at our one night in the tiny house, just to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what it is like to live in one. Okay, so we just arrived at the tiny home and we settled in and unpacked, and I thought now would be a really good time to just give you a tour and give you our first thoughts. And look at this really adorable keychain thingy. So let's start by taking a look at the cozy nook area. We've got the couch, and it's kind of L-shaped now with these additions of these ottomans, which I think you said have storage in them.
Lift him up.
Nope. Just kidding. Yeah, storage under there. Blanket. We tucked our shoes down in the corner. This thing, look at the cool welcome, actually folds down into a table. So this is where we'll eat dinner tonight, maybe play some games. So wrapping around here, you can see this really cool staircase that is built out of their natural storage shelving. Going up and down it, we were a little bit scared, but that rail really helps with that security. Over here we have the wood fire tiny furnace, and underneath we have some storage for some starter wood and matches and some not starter wood. We'll figure this out later. And then on the wall here, it looks like this is actually the heater. It says set to 70 degrees. It turns off and on to regulate the temperature, so don't mess with this flat thing. I actually thought it was a table. Claire told me it's not. I thought this was really cool. It was the first thing we saw in the dark when we walked in. And this is your temperature gauge. You have the outdoor temperature, you have your indoor temperature 64, so we'll definitely want to warm it up a little bit. Pretty neat, some technology in the tiny house. And now you move into the kitchen, which just like 2 feet to be in the kitchen. A lot of nice counter space here, things on the wall. Our most important tool here. And actually, if you look just above us, they have installed, what did she say, a 60-inch projector screen? That obviously works really well. There we go. And I assume there's an actual projector. Actually, it's right there in the corner back where we were. Really good one, Zoolander. Napoleon Dynamite.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. You would notice that. Plenty of storage, it looks like, down here. And just got your basic sink. Nice window above the sink. Right behind me, we have a refrigerator actually down below the stove, and then the stove top here. So there's no oven. So tonight we'll be cooking chicken on top of this. Yeah, everything we need in terms of pots and pans in a standard kitchen. The wardrobe area. So I've actually unpacked games and books sort of down below. And then as you can see just below that in this drawer, you have your bowls and everything else. So really smart use of space. And again, this is a part of the staircase itself. All right, let's go into the bathroom. I don't know if we can both fit. So this does have a composting toilet. It's got a sign when you need to empty the water portion, if you know what I mean, when it hits the full line, but that's every couple of days, so I don't think we'll have to deal with that. Plenty of built-in, just custom, nice storage here. Lots of things actually up top. Lint roller, key. Looping around, we have the window, a must-have in a bathroom, and then a stand-in shower. I don't know how good you can, and all that good stuff. So yeah, let's go check out the last part of this really. We have a double loft situation here. So this loft here would typically be used for storage. And then if you come around, you can see the bedroom side of the loft, which I'll climb up. You can stay down here. And you're up here, it looks like a queen size, full-size bed, built-in lights up top, windows that do open up. So there's 5 total windows up here, and you get a nice cross breeze, I'm sure. It's got a noise machine, probably a fog light system with like flashing neon lights. No, none of that. But yeah, it just looks really cozy and comfortable, and a decent amount of headspace. And this angle gives you a lot of extra space too. So if you had clothes, dressers, more storage, whatever else, you could put that right over here on the side. And the last thing is actually, I realized we haven't shown you the outside. We just figured out how to turn on these lights, and we read on the post on Airbnb that these are new. So come check it out. Came with these cool bird journals. People have been doing it. Nice. Outdoor fire stove, s'mores kit, fire pit, lattice chair. Did I get that right?
Sure.
And what do you call these?
Decoration.
Scientific term. So that's the whole thing. Handmade, obviously. You did good. Now, when it comes to rules and regulations around tiny houses, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Without going into detail, I'll just say there's a lot to consider if you're thinking about going off-grid. First of all, do you want to be totally off-grid or not? You have to think about internet. Do you want to go composting toilet or a regular toilet? So sewage comes into play. Each state might have their own policies. There's RV lots that you can pay for. Those are still going to cost you $400, $500 a month. The rules get a little bit squishy when you're talking about housing on wheels versus RVs and all that. So I think we'll see some interesting things coming up in the future in terms of legislation and laws and rules. I think these are going to become more and more popular because you're talking about $100,000 investment versus 400, 500, 600, 800,000, and obviously way up from there to buy a house. Okay, so if you're actually interested in shopping to buy a tiny house, there is a website that you can search for them that's much better than Craigslist like I started on, and this is called tinyhouselistings.com. Tiny houses for rent, for purchase, they're all over the place, and this is a newer website, so it's not perfect, but it's a really useful website. There's also a podcast called Tiny House Lifestyle that I've listened to 3 or 4 episodes and totally recommend. And one final new resource if you're interested in diving more into the world of all things tiny houses is tinyhouseforum.com. This is a new website that is tailored to people interested in buying, people logging their experiences, answering questions. So everything you'd want to know is probably on Tiny House Forum. So again, lots of great resources out there. AirBNB if you want to stay for a night, using our tips in the description below. And I will link below the tiny house that we stayed in. It's up on Whidbey Island. I'll link below books that I ended up checking out from the library. So all things tiny house down below. They're just so freaking cute. And the design, the ingenuity, the creativity that is put into each and every one of these is really just honestly inspirational. Because yes, they're beautiful, but they're also kind of smart when it comes to making a good financial decision. Okay, so that's it. That's all things tiny house. Thanks for watching as always. Be sure to like the video if you got some value out of this. Subscribe if you have not already. I post videos once a week on, obviously now, all things personal finance, even alternative living. Have an awesome week, and as always, I will talk to you soon. Thanks.
It's as high as it goes. Literally.
Wait, does that tray fit on the bottom?
Doesn't fit.
How was it on fire?
It's not on fire.